Do you think you are free? Think carefully before answering. You wake up and the first thing you do is grab your phone, scrolling through the screen in search of something new, something to distract you. Then maybe a coffee, a dose of dopamine, while watching a short video, a song to relieve the boredom. On your way to work or college, you consume more stimuli, podcasts, social media, incessant notifications. And when you finally have a moment of silence, what happens? A discomfort arises, an emptiness, something that forces you to seek yet another distraction, another immediate pleasure. The issue isn't with pleasure itself. Pleasure serves as a natural instrument of the human psyche, an evolutionary tool that urges us to pursue what sustains our survival. But what occurs when that same pleasure transforms into our prison? When the constant craving to feel good turns us into prisoners of an unending loop of instant gratification? Nearly a century ago, Aldous Huxley foresaw this, while George Orwell painted a grim picture of future tyranny in 1984. Yet Huxley envisioned something even more chilling. A future where coercion wouldn't be necessary, where people would be so absorbed, so inundated by pleasurable distractions, that the idea of rebellion wouldn't even arise. A future in which chains wouldn't be required for slavery, because people would come to adore their own servitude. Now look around you. What do you see? A society obsessed with entertainment, consuming pleasure without limits, seeking immediate relief for any discomfort. But what is the cost of this? Is this relentless pursuit of instant happiness truly liberating you or keeping you trapped? In this video, we will explore how modern society conditions us to seek pleasure as a form of control, and why this dependency may be transforming you into something you never imagined. A voluntary slave. If you believe you're the one steering your own mind, you might want to keep watching, because just maybe, you'll come to realize you never truly were. The most flawless form of slavery doesn't depend on chains. It needs no torture, no threats, and no ever-present surveillance. All it takes is something deceptively simple, yet powerfully destructive: pleasure. When pleasure takes the throne at the center of life, servitude wears the mask of freedom. And this is precisely the future Huxley envisioned in Brave New World. Imagine a world where people question nothing because they are constantly entertained, where the search for meaning is replaced by the consumption of cheap distractions, where pleasure is not a choice but an imposition. In his dystopia, Huxley created a society where individuals are conditioned from birth to avoid anything that generates discomfort. Whenever a negative feeling arises, an unease, or an existential doubt, the solution is at hand: a dose of soma, the perfect drug that keeps everyone anesthetized and docile. But is this world really just fiction? Take a moment to reflect on your everyday life. When boredom, sadness, or frustration creeps in, what's the first thing you do? Do you pause to truly feel and understand it? Or do you rush to distract yourself? Social media, binge watching, food, alcohol, shopping, sex, porn, video games. The options are endless. We're living in an era built on instant gratification, where even the slightest discomfort can be numbed in moments with a simple tap on a screen. There's no need to confront the emptiness. Just drown it out with yet another hit of pleasure. And the most insidious part? It all looks like free will. No one is holding you down and forcing you to binge content around the clock. No one's compelling you to scroll endlessly on TikTok or Instagram. No one's aiming a weapon and ordering, buy this, eat that, don't stop scrolling. But if this is a choice, why is it so hard to stop? The answer lies in conditioning. When you get used to seeking immediate pleasure to relieve any form of discomfort, your brain learns that this is the standard solution. Over time, you lose the ability to deal with boredom, with silence, with introspection. Your mind becomes incapable of being alone with itself, and without realizing it, you become exactly what Huxley predicted: a happy servant imprisoned not by force but by pleasure. But why does this happen? How does conditioning teach us to avoid any critical thinking and keep us trapped in this addictive cycle? This is what we will explore in the next part. If you find this content valuable, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Social conditioning and the loss of critical thinking. Have you ever wondered why it is so hard to stop? Why? Even knowing that you should focus on something productive, your hand automatically glides to your phone. Your brain begs for a new notification, a new video, a new stimulus. This doesn't happen by chance. You have been trained for it. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs. The educational system does not teach us to think critically, but to repeat information. The job market programs us to produce, not to reflect. And the culture of entertainment delivers constant distractions so that we never stop to question the world around us. The result of all this is a society where the real danger isn't an authoritarian regime silencing freedom of expression, but a system that makes us stop caring about it altogether. No one grasped this more clearly than Huxley. In Brave New World, citizens didn't have to be violently suppressed. They were conditioned to embrace their own enslavement. From early childhood, they underwent hypnopedia, messages whispered during sleep molding their beliefs without their conscious awareness. Phrases like, "everyone belongs to everyone," and "a gram of soma solves everything," were ingrained into their minds, ensuring they never questioned a thing. They grew up convinced that true happiness was found in conformity, in avoiding deep thinking, in running from even the faintest trace of pain. Now consider how this plays out in our world today. Conditioning no longer comes through hypnopedia. It now arrives via social media algorithms, relentless marketing, and an overwhelming stream of stimuli that subtly guide your behavior without your awareness. Each time a notification pings, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. Every time a short-form video spoon-feeds you new information, you grow more accustomed to not thinking for yourself. And with every reward for compliance, whether it's in the form of likes, social approval, or instant pleasure, you strengthen the belief that this must be the right way to live. The effect of this? An entire generation of people incapable of being alone with their own thoughts, incapable of dealing with discomfort, incapable of questioning the system because they have simply lost the habit of thinking critically. In the end, a dictatorship is not needed to control the masses when they themselves reject any idea that requires mental effort. But this rejection of critical thinking comes at a price. When we avoid discomfort at all costs, we end up becoming more fragile, more manipulable, more vulnerable. Constant pleasure weakens us, and manufactured happiness can turn us into increasingly passive beings. But how does this happen? How can the promise of a world without pain lead us to complete submission? This is what we will explore in the next part. The danger of manufactured happiness. Imagine a world where no one suffers, where all pains are quickly erased, where there is no sadness, frustration, or anxiety. It seems like paradise, right? But now look closer. What happens to someone who never faces difficulties? What happens to an entire society programmed to avoid any discomfort? The answer is simple. It becomes weak. Huxley saw this trap with chilling precision. In Brave New World, happiness was ensured through the constant use of soma, the ideal drug. No side effects, no danger, just instant gratification. But what did that happiness truly represent? It meant that no one had the capacity to confront pain, frustration, or even their own inner thoughts. Any discomforting idea was quickly dissolved in a chemical cloud of relief. Life became a never-ending stream of shallow pleasures, sex, distractions, consumption. And anything that strayed from this pattern was treated as a threat. Now look around you. The modern world may not have soma, but it has its own versions. Social media that offers instant doses of validation, dating apps that eliminate the fear of rejection, algorithms that deliver exactly what we want before we even know we want it. Everything designed to eliminate any discomfort, any gap, any need for effort. But this constant escape from pain comes at a cost, and that cost is our own psychological strength. The harsh truth is that pain serves a purpose. Suffering builds resilience. Frustration pushes us to grow. Struggles compel us to adapt and evolve. But when everything is made comfortable, when we avoid every challenge, we start to break more easily. These days, even the slightest discomfort feels overwhelming. Small setbacks spiral into full-blown crises. Minor disagreements appear catastrophic. Anything that demands patience or sustained effort gets pushed aside because we've been trained to chase the path of least resistance, quick fixes, instant pleasure. And that in turn makes us easier to control. A society of strong, resilient individuals who accept discomfort and learn from it will never be docile. They will never accept living under a system that limits its freedom. But a society of emotionally dependent individuals who need constant stimuli to avoid emptiness, who flee from any form of suffering, such a society will be obedient. It will be manipulable. It will be the perfect society for those who want power without having to resort to force. And this is how the trap closes. What seems to be freedom the ability to avoid all suffering, actually transforms into our prison. But there is a way out. To escape this cycle, we need to understand the difference between pleasure and purpose, because while pleasure can enslave us, purpose can set us free. And that is exactly what we will explore in the next part. Pleasure versus purpose. What are you really seeking in life? Happiness or meaning, pleasure or purpose? The answer may seem obvious, but have you truly stopped to reflect on it? Modern society has trained us to believe that happiness is the ultimate goal. But what does it offer us? Happiness. An endless sequence of fleeting pleasures likes on social media, impulsive shopping, casual sex, binge-watching series, ultra-processed food that gives us a spike of pleasure and then leaves us empty. All of this keeps us momentarily satisfied, but never for long, and that is the key to the problem. Pleasure is always temporary. It needs to be constantly renewed, or the feeling of emptiness returns. Now think about the most significant moments of your life, those that truly shaped who you are. Were they moments of instant pleasure, or moments of challenge, effort, and overcoming? Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that human beings cannot live without purpose. He observed that even in the worst possible scenarios, those who found a greater meaning in their lives were the ones who managed to survive and maintain their sanity. And this is where the paradox reveals itself. Chasing constant pleasure makes us weaker, while striving for purpose makes us stronger. Pleasure is effortless, instant, and often addictive. Purpose, in contrast, demands discipline, persistence, and hard work. But unlike pleasure, which fades the moment its effect is gone, purpose leaves something lasting inside us. It creates meaning. It gives us a reason to move forward. But today's society doesn't encourage you to seek purpose. Purpose takes time to develop. It demands reflection, effort, and most importantly, a willingness to endure discomfort. All of that stands in direct opposition to the culture of instant consumption. A person who discovers real purpose has no need for constant distraction. They don't feel compelled to cram every moment with shallow entertainment. They're far less susceptible to the empty promises of instant joy. And that is exactly why we are constantly bombarded with stimuli that divert us from this search. Because a person with purpose is a dangerous person for a system that thrives on our emotional dependence. So if you feel that something is missing in your life, perhaps the answer is not more pleasure, but less. Perhaps the path is not to seek more distractions, but to eliminate the excess of them. And the question you need to ask yourself is, what truly moves you? What makes you get out of bed in the morning? Are you living off disposable pleasures, or are you building something that really matters? But how do you escape this trap? How do you break the cycle and regain autonomy over your own mind? That is what we will uncover in the next part. How to break the cycle of modern slavery. Now that you understand how the relentless pursuit of pleasure can keep you trapped, the most important question arises. How do you escape this trap? How do you regain control of your own mind in a world that does everything to keep you distracted, doped, and emotionally dependent? The first thing you need to understand is that this is not an easy fight. The system is designed for you to fail. It wants you to keep seeking quick pleasures, to keep feeding the algorithms with your attention, to keep consuming endlessly. But there is a way out, and it starts with your decision to become aware of the game being played against you. The first step in breaking this cycle is to practice strategic deprivation of pleasure. This doesn't mean you must become an ascetic or reject all enjoyment, but rather that you should deliberately learn to regulate your exposure to highly addictive stimuli. The real issue isn't pleasure itself. It's how pleasure is being weaponized to control you. When you intentionally step away from certain pleasures for a while, like social media, processed junk food, or compulsive entertainment, something curious begins to happen. Your brain resets. It starts to rediscover joy in simple things. And that overpowering craving for artificial stimulation gradually weakens. The second step is rebuilding your tolerance for discomfort. If you want to reclaim your autonomy, you have to relearn how to face boredom, frustration, and the absence of constant stimulation. This involves allowing yourself moments of silence, stepping back from the nonstop flow of information, and simply being, without needing to fill every second with distraction. In the beginning, this won't be easy. Your brain, conditioned by frequent dopamine hits, will crave more. But if you hold your ground, you'll start to realize something powerful. Discomfort doesn't destroy you. It actually makes you stronger. The third step is to develop critical thinking. Start asking yourself, why do I constantly feel the urge to distract myself? Who actually benefits from my dependence on pleasure? What might I be capable of if I weren't stuck in this cycle of instant gratification? The more you question, the clearer it becomes that many of your habits and desires weren't consciously chosen. They were shaped by the system around you. But only those who dare to ask these questions can begin to take back control and rewrite the course of their own lives. The fourth step, and arguably the most crucial, is to replace pleasure with purpose. As we explored earlier, the pursuit of meaning is the real antidote to the trap of instant gratification. So ask yourself, what truly matters to me? What do I want to create or contribute? How can I bring more meaning into my life? These questions aren't easy, but they're the only ones that genuinely count. But there is a problem. Even if you start to break free from this cycle, the society around you will still be deeply immersed in it. And when you decide to change, something inevitable happens. People begin to see you differently. Some will admire you, others will reject you. Because when you free yourself, you also become a mirror reflecting what others do not want to see in themselves. And that is exactly what we will explore in the final part. Are you ready? If you've made it this far, something inside you has already begun to awaken. You've realized that the relentless pursuit of pleasure is not freedom, but rather a cycle of conditioning that keeps you trapped. You understand that modern society doesn't need to physically chain you to control you. It just needs to convince you to flee from any form of discomfort. But now that the trap is visible, the real question becomes, what will you do with this awareness? The truth is, breaking free from this system takes more than just willpower. It means going against the tide, turning away from the path of least resistance, and accepting that genuine freedom often brings solitude and struggle. Because once you stop numbing yourself with distractions, you begin to truly see. And when that happens, you realize something sobering. Many of those around you are still asleep. Some people will respect you for this shift. Others will push you away. Your change will make some uncomfortable, because when you break free, you challenge the illusion they still cling to. They may try to drag you back in, insisting there's nothing wrong with the system, that life is just meant to be enjoyed without overthinking it. But now you've seen the truth. Pleasure without purpose is simply another kind of slavery. So the choice lies in your hands. You can keep living as you always have, chasing distractions, seeking the next dopamine hit, and turning away from that quiet, growing emptiness within. Or you can choose a different path, one where you reclaim control over your mind, pursue a deeper purpose, and become someone who can't be easily controlled. But now I want to ask you, what will you choose? Have you ever felt stuck in this cycle? Have you noticed how modern society turns pleasure into a tool for control? Drop a comment below and share your perspective. Because asking these questions is the very first step toward freedom. And if this video helped you see the world through a different lens, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We don't follow the crowd here. We question, we reflect, and we search for the truths that most people would rather ignore. If you're ready to keep going on this path of awareness and self-liberation, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this is only the beginning. I'll see you in the next video.